He always acted like I didn't exist in the daylight, but when night fell, his arms were the only place I could breathe. Isn't it ironic? How someone who freezes you in public can burn you alive in private. The first time Ethan held me, I thought it was an accident. A twitch in his sleep, maybe, or a drunken mistake. But when it happened again and again, I stopped trying to convince myself it was nothing. The boy who barely spoke to me when the sun was up was the same one who clung to me in the darkness. Like letting go meant losing a war he couldn't fight during the day. It was our freshman year at a university in Boston. The campus was loud, alive, buzzing with people chasing futures they thought they already had figured out. And there I was, new, uncertain, and stuck in a cramped dorm room with Ethan Miller. Everyone knew his name. The tall guy with the perfect jawline, the one who could make professors stutter just by looking up from his notebook. He was untouchable, sharp-edged, the kind of person people feared and admired in equal measure. And then there was me, Daniel Brooks, quiet, observant, carrying a smile that didn't always reach my eyes. I wasn't invisible, but I sure as hell wasn't unforgettable. If I vanished, maybe 3 people would notice. When Ethan and I first met, he barely looked at me. His handshake was firm but detached, his words clipped, efficient. Ethan, nice to meet you. That was it. No warmth, no attempt at friendliness. And honestly, I was fine with that. I figured we'd coexist, 2 strangers sharing 4 walls, surviving until May. But then the nights came. The first week, I woke up to a weight against my back. Heavy, solid, warm. His arm was slung across me, his face buried in the crook of my neck. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it might wake him up. I froze, waiting for him to shift away, to realize what he was doing. But he didn't. He held on. The next morning, he was gone, already dressed, bag slung over his shoulder, earbuds in, walking out like nothing had happened. He didn't look at me, didn't speak, just left. And that became the rhythm of our life together. By day, he was ice. By night, fire. At first, I told myself not to read into it. Maybe he was just a touchy sleeper. Maybe it didn't mean anything. But when someone whispers your name half asleep, voice cracked and desperate, it stops being nothing. Daniel, he murmured one night, so softly I thought I'd imagined it. I didn't sleep at all after that. Our days were predictable. He was popular, I was average. He hung out with the basketball team, went to parties, always surrounded by people who orbited him like planets circling a sun. I studied in the library, worked part-time at the campus coffee shop, and watched life move around me like I was stuck behind glass. We rarely spoke except for the essentials. You done with the shower? Can I borrow your charger? Turn off the light, Brooks. Always curt, always impersonal. But then night arrived and the rules changed. Sometimes he held me like I was his anchor, fingers tangled in my shirt, breath hot against the back of my neck. Other nights, he shifted closer so our legs brushed, his forehead pressing lightly into my shoulder. Every time, it left me more confused, more tangled in a web I didn't ask to be caught in. And the worst part? I started needing it. I'd lie awake, waiting for that moment when his guard fell, when the boy everyone else feared let himself be vulnerable against me. I should have pulled away. I should have stopped him. But instead, I leaned into it. Into him. The breaking point came at a party in October. It was one of those loud, chaotic frat house nights where beer spilled like water and music shook the floorboards. Ethan was there, of course, center of attention, standing tall with a red Solo cup in his hand. He looked untouchable under the flashing lights, surrounded by people who laughed at jokes he didn't even finish. I was there too, dragged along by my coworker, half wishing I could melt into the wallpaper. I didn't expect him to notice me. He never did, not in public. But then his eyes found mine across the room. Just for a second. Just long enough for something to flicker in his expression before he looked away. And that's when it happened. One of his teammates slung an arm around him, pulling him close, joking about some girl who'd been staring at Ethan all night. She wants you, man. Go for it. Ethan smirked, the kind of smirk that could slice someone in half. Not interested. Why not? She's hot. Not my type. The guy laughed. Then what is your type, Miller? You don't date anyone. You some kind of monk? And Ethan, in his usual cold, sharp tone, said, Does it matter? Everyone laughed it off, but I saw the tension in his jaw, the way his grip on his cup tightened. He was drowning, and nobody even noticed. Nobody but me. I left early, slipping out into the cool Boston air, trying to clear my head. But when I got back to our dorm, Ethan was already there, sitting on his bed, staring at the floor like the world had just ended. When he finally looked up, his eyes were different, softer, fragile in a way I'd never seen before. And for the first time, he spoke more than a sentence to me. "Do you ever feel like you're living a life that doesn't belong to you?" he asked. I didn't know how to answer, but I knew right then that the boy who held me every night wasn't cold at all. He was breaking. That night, when he pulled me into his arms, it wasn't just out of habit. It was a confession, and God help may let myself believe it. His confession wasn't loud, it wasn't clear, but it lodged itself inside me like a splinter I couldn't pull out. "Do you ever feel like you're living a life that doesn't belong to you?" That question didn't fade with the morning light. It haunted me, followed me to class, into my shifts at the coffee shop, into every silence between us. The thing about silence is, with Ethan, it wasn't empty. It was loaded. It was full of words unsaid, feelings buried, truths neither of us dared to admit. And the problem was, I wanted to know. I wanted to peel back every layer of him until I found the raw, beating thing he kept hidden from the rest of the world. The following week, things shifted in small ways. Ethan still ignored me in public, still walked past me on campus like I was a stranger, still surrounded himself with people who thought they knew him. But in the room, in the safety of 4 beige walls and the hum of the radiator, he started to talk. Not much at first. A few stray comments about classes, professors, the endless snow that Boston seemed cursed with. But then, one night, he asked about me. "What's your major again?" His voice was low, almost reluctant. "English," I said, startled by the fact that he cared enough to ask. He nodded, staring at the ceiling. "Figures. What's that supposed to mean?" He smirked faintly. "You always look like you're writing a story in your head." I didn't know whether to take it as a compliment or an insult, but the way he said it soft, almost fond, made my chest tighten. That night, when he held me, it felt different. Less like instinct, more like intention. By November, the city had turned into ice. Snow lined the sidewalks, our breath fogged the air, and everything smelled like pine trees and burnt coffee. Finals loomed, but the real test was surviving the slow, torturous unraveling of whatever was happening between us. Because here's the thing. Once you start hoping, you're screwed. One night, I found him sitting at his desk long past midnight, staring at an unopened textbook. His hand was pressed against his temple, his jaw tense. "You okay?" I asked cautiously. He didn't answer right away. Then he looked at me, eyes dark and stormy. "I hate this." "Hate what?" "This." He gestured vaguely. "The games. Pretending. Being someone I'm not just to fit in." I swallowed. "So stop pretending." He laughed bitterly. "You think it's that easy? Why not?" "Because people like me don't get to be honest." There it was, the crack in his armor. The truth slipping out, jagged and raw. I wanted to reach across the room, shake him, tell him he wasn't alone. But instead, I said quietly, "You're more honest at night than anyone I've ever met." His eyes flickered. He didn't reply, but that night, when he climbed into bed and wrapped himself around me, he didn't let go until morning. The danger of intimacy is that it makes you greedy. By December, I wanted more than whispered names in the dark. I wanted his laugh, his smile, his attention when the sun was up. I wanted him to look at me the way he did when he thought I was asleep. But Ethan was a master of denial. At the holiday party our dorm hosted, he stood across the room, surrounded by friends, his expression carefully neutral. I was by the snack table, pretending to care about sugar cookies, when I overheard one of his teammates teasing him again. "So, Miller, you gonna get a girlfriend this semester or what? Can't be single forever." Ethan smirked, the kind that fooled everyone but me. "Don't see the point. Come on, man. There's gotta be someone." His gaze flicked to me just for a heartbeat, just long enough for my chest to stutter. Then he looked away. My throat burned. I left before the party ended. When he came back to the room later, I was curled under my blanket, facing the wall. He didn't say anything, but eventually, I felt the mattress dip, the familiar arms snake around me. I wanted to shove him off, scream at him for hiding me, for hiding us whatever us even was. But instead, I let him hold me, because I was weak, because I cared too much, because love makes you do stupid, reckless things. Winter break should have been a relief. I went home to my family in Chicago trying to convince myself that the space would help, that I could detach. But every night, lying in my childhood bedroom, I felt the absence like a missing limb. When we came back in January, the tension was worse than ever. It was one of those freezing nights where even the radiator couldn't keep up. I shivered under my blanket until Ethan finally shifted closer, pulling me against him without a word. "You're cold," he muttered. "No kidding." He chuckled softly, so rare, so fleeting. And God, I wanted to freeze time right there. But then he whispered something that shattered me. "I don't know how much longer I can do this." My chest went hollow. "Do what?" "This." His grip on me tightened. "Wanting something I can't have." The room went silent except for the sound of our breathing. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. So I asked the only question that mattered. "Why can't you?" He didn't answer. And maybe that was the answer. February arrived with its fake hearts and cheap chocolates, and I hated every second of it. Couples strolled hand in hand through campus, and I walked beside Ethan, invisible. Until one night, everything exploded. It was after a basketball game. The team had won, and a group of us ended up at a diner downtown. I sat at the end of the booth, Ethan across from me, surrounded by his teammates. They joked, laughed, shoved each other like brothers. And then one of them noticed me. "Hey, Brooks, you're Miller's roommate, right?" "Yeah," I said cautiously. "Man, that must be rough. He's such an asshole sometimes." The table laughed. Ethan smirked, playing along. And then the guy added, "Bet he barely talks to you. Probably ignores you, huh?" I opened my mouth, but Ethan cut in first. "He doesn't mind. He's used to it." The words hit me like a slap. Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. I excused myself, muttered something about the bathroom, and walked out into the freezing night air. Minutes later, footsteps crunched behind me. "Daniel," I spun around. "Don't." My voice shook. "Don't you dare." His jaw clenched. "It was just a joke." "No, Ethan. It's not just a joke when you spend every night holding me like I'm the only thing keeping you together, and then you throw me under the bus in front of your friends." His face went pale. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand." Silence. The snow fell between us, soft and relentless. Finally, he whispered, "If they knew, if anyone knew, I'd lose everything." My chest ached. "Then what am I to you? A secret? A distraction?" His eyes shone with something I couldn't name. "You're the only thing that feels real." And just like that, the anger crumbled, replaced by something more dangerous. Hope. That night, when he kissed me for the first time, it wasn't gentle. It was desperate, furious, like he'd been starving for years and finally found food. His hands cupped my face, his lips pressed hard against mine, and I felt every wall he'd built shatter between us. But even as my heart soared, a voice in my head whispered, "What happens when the sun comes up?" Because in daylight, he was still Ethan Miller. And Ethan Miller didn't belong to me. The kiss changed everything and nothing at the same time. In the dim dorm room, with snow melting in our hair and the heater rattling in protest, Ethan's lips were still on mine. It was rushed, messy, almost violent in its urgency. Like he'd held himself back for so long that once the dam broke, he couldn't stop the flood. But then he pulled away. His chest heaved, his eyes wide with terror, as if what we'd just done was a crime. "We can't," he whispered. My heart sank. "We already did." He scrubbed a hand across his face, pacing the room like a caged animal. "You don't get it, Daniel. If anyone finds out what? That you're human." His head snapped toward me, anger and fear warring in his expression. "That I'm not who they think I am." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, well, I figured that out a long time ago." Newsflash. The cold, untouchable Ethan Miller disappears every night the second you crawl into my bed. Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Finally, he whispered, "I don't know how to be both." And that was the problem, wasn't it? By day he was stone. By night he was fire. And I was burning in the middle. The days after that kiss were torture. We didn't talk about it. Not once. We went through our routines like nothing happened. Like my lips didn't still ache for him. Like my chest didn't still echo with the memory of his heartbeat. In public, he was colder than ever. In private, he held me tighter. It was like he was trying to erase the line he'd crossed, but couldn't stop himself from crossing it again every night. One night, I whispered into the darkness, "Why do you keep doing this if you don't want me?" His arms stiffened around me. "Don't say that." "Then what do you want, Ethan?" He didn't answer, but I felt the way his hand trembled against my chest, and that was enough to know. He wanted me, he just couldn't admit it. March rolled in with rain that felt like it would never stop. The whole city turned gray, puddles swallowing sidewalks, the campus dripping with umbrellas and damp hoodies. Finals were approaching, but my mind wasn't on exams, it was on him. One evening, I came back from my shift at the coffee shop to find him sitting on his bed, head in his hands. His phone lay on the desk, screen lit up with unread messages. "You okay?" I asked cautiously. He looked up, eyes bloodshot. "My dad called." I waited. He rarely talked about his family. "He wants me home for the summer." Said he lined up an internship with his firm. Said it's time I get serious about my future. His voice dripped with bitterness. "Isn't that good?" He laughed without humor. "Good for him, maybe. Not for me." I sat beside him. "What do you want?" His eyes searched mine, desperate, almost pleading. "This, you." But I don't know how to make it real without losing everything else. My chest tightened. I wanted to tell him love was worth the risk, that nothing mattered more than being true to yourself. But the truth was I was terrified too. Terrified of being his secret forever, of never being enough to make him choose me out loud. So instead I whispered, "Then start small. Choose me here. Now. Just us." And for the first time, he kissed me like he wasn't ashamed. It became a rhythm. By day, we played our roles. By night, we unraveled each other. His lips on mine, his hands tracing my skin, his whispered confessions spilling into the dark. But secrecy has a way of rotting even the sweetest things. One afternoon, I was at the library when a girl from his class, Emily, slid into the chair across from me. "You're Ethan's roommate, right?" she asked with a bright smile. "Yeah," I said warily. She leaned in. "Do you know if he's seeing anyone?" A couple of us were talking and, well, he never flirts with anyone. It's weird. My stomach clenched. I forced a smile. "No idea." She laughed. "Figures. He's impossible to read." Then she added, almost conspiratorially, "He doesn't seem the type to hide things, though. Whatever he wants, he'll take it." I wanted to scream. If only she knew. If only anyone knew. The storm came in April. We'd just gotten back from a late-night diner run, both of us damp from the drizzle. Ethan was restless, pacing the room like he couldn't sit still. "What's wrong?" I asked. He stopped, fists clenched at his sides. "I'm tired of hiding." My heart leapt. "Then stop." His eyes were wild. "You don't get it. If I stop, I lose the team. The guys. My dad. Everyone." "Then what about me?" My voice cracked. "Do I matter at all?" The silence that followed was worse than any answer he could have given. Something inside me snapped. "I can't keep doing this, Ethan. I can't keep being your secret." His face went pale. "Daniel, no. You don't get to say my name like that and then pretend I don't exist when the sun's up. You don't get to hold me at night and throw me away in the morning." His jaw worked like he was fighting words he couldn't say. Finally, he whispered, "I'm sorry." But sorry wasn't enough. I grabbed my jacket and left, the rain soaking me before I even reached the quad. For the first time, I didn't want him to follow. The days that followed were hell. We still lived in the same room, still brushed past each other in the cramped space, but it felt like an ocean had opened between us. He didn't reach for me at night. I didn't wait for him. We were strangers again. But the thing about love is it doesn't die just because you want it to. One night, I woke up to find him sitting on the floor by my bed, his head resting against the mattress. His shoulders shook silently. "Ethan?" My voice was soft, uncertain. He didn't look up. "I don't know how to do this without you." Something broke inside me. I slid off the bed, sitting beside him on the floor. "Then don't." He turned toward me, eyes red, face raw. I'm scared. I know. I've never been this scared. I took his hand, threading my fingers through his. Me neither. And in that fragile, trembling moment, I realized that maybe love wasn't about grand declarations or perfect timing. Maybe it was about this choosing each other, even when the world made it impossible. By May, the semester was ending, and with it came choices neither of us were ready to make. His father expected him back in New York. My summer plans were small: working, saving, writing. One night, as we lay tangled together, he whispered, "What if I stayed?" I froze. "You'd stay here." He nodded. "With you." My heart wanted to say yes. My head whispered all the reasons it would never work. But when his lips brushed mine, all I could do was hope. Because for the first time, Ethan Miller wasn't cold. He was burning, and he was mine. The semester ended the way Boston summers always began: humid, heavy, with the faint smell of asphalt warming under the sun. For most students, it was freedom. For Ethan and me, it was a countdown. His father wanted him in New York. His teammates wanted him at training camps. Everyone wanted a piece of him. Everyone except May didn't want pieces anymore. I wanted the whole. But the problem was, he didn't know if he could give it. The breaking point came in June, a week before he was supposed to leave. We were sitting on the lawn after class, the campus alive with people celebrating the end of finals. Ethan leaned back on his elbows, sunglasses shielding his eyes, his expression unreadable. I was sprawled beside him, trying not to let my heart beat too loudly. Then his teammate Kyle walked up. Loud, cocky, already half drunk on freedom. "Miller," Kyle called, dropping onto the grass. "So, we hitting the city tonight? Celebrate before you head out." "Maybe," Ethan muttered. Kyle grinned. "You better. New York's about to steal you from us, man. You'll be too busy with your fancy internship and Wall Street dad to even remember us." Ethan forced a smile. But then Kyle's gaze shifted to me. "Brooks, you tagging along too? Or you sticking to your books as usual?" I laughed weakly. "Probably the books." Kyle smirked. "Figures. You and Miller are like night and day. Can't even imagine you two hanging out, honestly." The words stung more than they should have. I glanced at Ethan, waiting, begging for him to say something, anything, to defend me, to defend us. But he said nothing. The silence was louder than a shout. When Kyle left, I stood abruptly. "I'm going back to the dorm." "Daniel," Ethan started, but I was already walking away. We fought that night. It wasn't the quiet, simmering tension we'd grown used to. It was loud, raw, jagged. "You can't even admit we're friends?" I shouted, my voice cracking. "Is that how ashamed you are of me?" His face twisted. "It's not you I'm ashamed of. It's me." I froze. He raked a hand through his hair, pacing like he was unraveling. "You think I don't want to tell people? You think I don't want to grab your hand in the middle of the quad and kiss you where everyone can see? I do. God, I do. But the second I do that, everything changes. The team, my dad, my whole damn life." I swallowed hard. "So you're saying we can only exist in the dark?" His silence was answer enough. Tears burned my eyes. "Then maybe we shouldn't exist at all." The words shattered between us like glass. I didn't wait for his reply. I grabbed my bag, walked out, and slammed the door behind me. I stayed with a friend for 2 days, ignoring his calls, his texts, the pounding on the dorm door. Every time my phone lit up with his name, my heart twisted, but I didn't answer. It was easier to be angry than to admit how much I missed him. But on the third night, he found me. I was walking back from the library when a familiar figure stepped out from under a streetlight. Ethan. His hoodie was pulled low, his face pale, his eyes wild. "We need to talk," he said, voice raw. I wanted to tell him no, that I was done. But my chest betrayed me, aching at the sight of him. "Fine," I muttered. We ended up on a bench by the river, the city lights reflecting off the water. He sat stiffly, hands clenched, staring at the ground. Finally, he whispered, "I told my dad." My heart stuttered. "Told him what?" "The truth. About me. About us." I blinked. "You what?" His laugh was humorless. He didn't take it well. Said I was throwing away everything he built for me. Said I was making a fool of the family. His voice cracked. Said I'd regret it. My throat tightened. Ethan. He looked up, eyes shining. But I don't regret it. Not one damn thing. Because for the first time I didn't lie. I didn't hide. And it's because of you. Tears blurred my vision. Why now? Because I realized I'd rather lose everything than lose you. The words hit me like a tidal wave. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then he reached for my hand, tentative, trembling. And for the first time he held me in the light. Summer wasn't easy. His father cut him off financially. The team whispered behind his back. Some friends vanished. But Ethan didn't flinch. He got a job at a bookstore, picked up shifts at a diner, built something new from the rubble. And through it all, he chose me. Not just at night, but in the morning, in the afternoon, in the middle of the crowded cafeteria. The first time he kissed me in public, under the glaring sun and the stares of half the campus, I thought my chest might burst. He didn't care who saw. He didn't care what they thought. For once, the boy who had always been cold was blazing, unstoppable. Years later, when we moved into our first apartment together in New York, I found myself remembering those nights in the dorm, the secret touches, the whispered names, the fear that kept us caged. Ethan wrapped his arms around me from behind, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Remember how terrified I was back then?" he murmured. I laughed softly. "You still hold me the same way, though." He tightened his grip. "Yeah, guess some things don't change." And in that moment, I realized the truth. Some loves are born in the dark. But the ones that survive, they shine brighter than anything else. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.